morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told out of Voice of Radio. So today, I come to you with pretty gosh darn good news, and that is that Shiny Star V is getting a big reprint. According to distributors over in Japan, it is getting a major re-release in September and October, and you might notice that you're listening to this at the beginning of September. Happy September, everyone, my birth month, so yay, etc. And that means that in the not too distant future, Japan is going to be getting a major re-release of Shiny Star V. So why is this good, and should any of us outside of Japan actually care? Well, Shiny Star V basically was the big hype set a little while ago. It was a set that brought us all of those there fancy shiny Pokemon, like for instance the Charizard, and it was a set which has frankly been scalped to high heaven. It really shouldn't be a particularly, I mean, don't get me wrong, right? It shouldn't exactly be a cheap set, but it's not like it was some hyper expensive set when it actually went and released. When it went and released over in Japan, booster boxes were being sold for 5,500 yen. That is the official price. It's a tiny bit more than your average Japanese booster box, but they've got different pack layouts to usual, more cards, etc. So not entirely exactly the same. It's a tiny bit more expensive, but it's really not that much generally. I mean, 5,500 yen comes in at about $50 or £36. And that's what you should be spending on a booster box of Shiny Star V. So then the question becomes, well, alright then, how much have they actually been selling for lately? If we're getting excited about a re-release, surely that means it's going to bring the price down. If I want to buy a Shiny Star V booster box nowadays, how much am I going to end up spending? And if you want a Japanese version, because there are Korean versions which are cheaper, but if you want a Japanese version, I mean, the prices are honestly a little bit all over the place. They do tend to vary a little bit more than you'll generally see. However, you're looking well over $100. I mean, we've seen one sold for $216, but then on the same day, apparently one sold for $110. But then again, the one that sold before that was sold for $190. So you're talking somewhere in the region of about $200-ish. Again, there was that one that did sell for a fair bit less. They're very expensive. And the fact of the matter is that if we get a big reprint in Japan, these are going to go back to being $50 boxes, at least if you can pick them up at retail in Japan. And then there's always that possibility that the price filters down through. Now, it might not. There's always a chance, unfortunately, that people just pick them up and keep selling them super expensively. But when there's more supply out there, that should bring down the price on the secondary market, which is clearly a very, very good thing indeed. Of course, there is a strong argument here that what's the point? Like, do we actually even really need this right now? Because the fact of the matter is, we had Shining Fates. And Shining Fates was not a one-to-one reprint of Shiny Star V, but it wasn't a million miles away. We got the majority of those cards. So, if you want to go and pick this stuff up, you can just go and get packs of Shining Fates, and honestly, you'll probably be fine. Now, it is worth pointing out there are a couple of very exciting Japanese cards that are in Shiny Star V that we didn't have in Shining Fates. So the Charizard, the V, the Shiny Charizard V, not the VMAX, was in Champion's Path over here, but then was just in Shiny Star V in Japan. In Japan, they had both the Shiny V and the Shiny V Max in the set. Over here, we got the Shiny V Max in Shining Fates, but the Shiny V was put in Champion's Path. Similarly, what's actually turned out to be a far more expensive and far more sought-after card than the Charizard is Marnie. Now, I know that for us, Marnie has come in that premium tournament collection, and even though that box is a little bit awkward to go and pick up, you can go and pick up a full art Marnie, and it's really not the end of the world. Again, it's not perfect. No one's arguing it's perfect. But for instance, the 4 promos from the box were sold on eBay yesterday, as I record this, for $44, and that includes the free autograph promos. Now, that is the English version. The Japanese version, you ain't getting that. I mean, the last sold item of the Japanese Marnie that went on our eBay, on US eBay, that went for almost $300. Japanese Marnie is redonkulous. So if you get Shiny Star V, there are the chance to pull things along those lines. Sure, we can get all these cards elsewhere, and I don't believe there are still any cards from Shiny Star V that we're particularly missing. We've had some in other sets, like the Charizard and like the Marnie, but generally speaking, it's all well and good. So, why? Why would you care if you... Now, obviously, inside of Japan, this is a big deal. Inside of Japan, they've not had these other releases like we've had. In Japan, this is the only thing they can do. And remember, there are very few exclusive cards. Now, there are a few. Things like Rusted Sword, which is very nice for helping Zacian do extra damage. Or Ball Guy, which can be a fun little card to go and search out some of these balls. Are Ditto V Max and Ditto V, if anyone actually thinks they're any good and are going to see any play. A Crobat V Max. These are all ones that came around in Shining Star V over in Japan and then ended up in Shining Fates over here. So there are some cards that are worth picking up. I mean, Japan's Shiny Star V actually is 330 cards compared to our Shining Fates, which has 73 in the main set and then 122 in the Shiny Vault set, which makes 195 total. And like I say, Japan's up to 330. It's a ridiculous size set. And I suppose if you want to complete that gigantic set, well, good news, it's now going to be a little easier to do so. Of course, an awful lot of these cards are shiny, but not all of them. I mean, there are 190 cards in the main set in Japan, and then there are 140 secret rares or things of that nature. So it's still a very large main set. They've had a whole bunch of alternate artworks and things we got elsewhere, you know, things like the Eldegoss V that we went and got in Champion's Path as our alternate art. Japan had never got before, so they went and got it in Shiny Star V, and then they did that a lot over in Shiny Star V. They basically mopped up a bunch. They fixed a bunch of holes with pre-release promos that we'd gotten that Japan hadn't and things of that nature. So my point is, it's a great set over in Japan. It's a large set, it's a difficult to complete set, and it's got some money cards, not least of which is Marnie. Over here, a reprint is almost certainly going to bring the price down, which is good, but we've now had Shining Fates. The fervor for Shiny Star V when it came out really was this huge deal about, well, hang on a second, we've now got this brilliant set, and we haven't got that over here, all these shiny Pokemon, we've never seen them, whereas now we can all just go and buy Shining Fates. And incidentally, if you're looking for Shining Fates, now is the time to go in on Shining Fates, because it's gotten to the point where an awful lot of sellers are starting to sell these below RRP. The Elite Trainer boxes, which should be $52.50 in the UK, for a few weeks now, they've been readily available for £40, which is, you know, a good 20% or more off. So if you're looking to be picking up Shining Fates, now is exactly the time you want to do so. We're in this cool period at the moment where Shining Fates is below RRP and it's in stock everywhere and it's readily available. What's going to happen over the next few months, year, whatever, is it's going to start selling out in all of these shops. And then, once it's sold out, and it's not being reprinted, and it doesn't need to be reprinted because nobody really needs it anymore because people aren't buying it, then the price will start creeping up and up and up and will never go down again. So if you want to buy Shining Fates, now is absolutely the time to do so. If you want to buy Shiny Star V, the good news is big reprint happening over in Japan. And look, for most of you, you probably can just ignore it because of Shining Fates. But the chance to pull that Japanese Full Art Marnie, or some of those other wonderful cards, that's got to be worth a go, right? Plus, for a bunch of people, they were just unable to find Shiny Star V on release, so just the possibility of being able to open a box, which they weren't able to before, that alone is pretty gosh darn cool. So there we go, ladies and gentlemen, lots of news about Shiny Star V coming back, and at this stage, I want to know how much you care. I want to know if this is the kind of thing you're going to be looking for, or whether Shining Fates getting a Western release has made you go, you know what, Shiny Star V, I can skip it. So let me know in the comment section, would ya? Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at TheWasi, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCG Radio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCG Radio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.